42 years ago, Dr. Henry Kissinger, the known war criminal, was Secretary of State in the Richard Milhous Nixon administration. And he authored National Security Study Memorandum 200 that remained classified for several decades. In that memorandum, now publicly available, they talk about using food as a weapon and as a tool of social control. Not a new idea. The Romans had carried it out, so had the Babylonians, the Egyptians, the ancient Chinese. It's known as siege. Control of food, control of water, you control a population. But his aim wasn't just to use it for control. His aim was to use it for depopulation, to ship the West toxic waste to the third world. That was just one of the sickening ideas in the declassified portion of this memorandum. Fast forward to 1992 in the Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro. There, globally, we saw the planet codify a plan to not push for expanding human wealth and expanding human success and expanding the living standard, but to reducing it and setting up a society based on making the people poor and setting up a global structure where having children is next to near impossible. That is the world we live in. If you go back to 2007, the British Ministry of Defense came out and echoed a Department of Defense report from here in the U.S. saying that beginning in the year 2016, right through 2020 to 2030, that they believe there would be massive multi-100% food price increases worldwide. And that during that global meltdown, that there would be incredible social unrest that would depopulate much of the earth. Now, in 2016, Vice magazine and other publications are reporting on a 2015 report produced by the U.S. government, the UN, and scores of foreign nations, as well as the State Department, overseen by food giant Cargill, the World Bank, and most importantly, the World Wildlife Fund. The World Wildlife Fund is a eugenics, anti-human organization set up by Prince Bernhard, who also founded the Bilderberg Group and who was a Nazi officer. He was also cousins and best friends with Prince Philip, Queen Elizabeth's husband, who says he'd like to come back to the earth as a virus to kill 80% of the population. He also doesn't believe that Africans are people. This organization sells environmentalism to make the elite look like heroes saving the earth, when in truth, they are ushering in a planetary tyranny that is irrevocably damaging the fabric of our planet. In this new FEMA report, with headline, FEMA contractor predicts social unrest caused by 395% food price spikes, you learn that this is a report filed with governments and major institutions overseen by a contractor that since the 1940s has been the main advisor for the U.S. Navy Marine Corps.
The game itself created an opportunity to live into the future. It caused people to think through what the possibilities are. And in that process, I think they realized what they have to start to do today to prepare for that future.
The challenges and crises that we were assigned are exactly what we expect to see in the future. So you've got famine, you've got increased pests, you've got the role of climate change in the world.
It's a world where it's getting hotter and it's getting drier. We're also seeing increased social unrest because of the volatility in the food system.
Food prices are going up 400%. We've got a flood of migrants coming in. The world is starting to fall apart.
Everything we do is going to have some negative effect.
We are going to have a pretty hard world to live in.
The new normal is volatility.
You need to read the report and the articles about the report for yourself, because it fits in to the Defense Department report now from about 8 years ago, 9 years ago, and to the British report, where they're acting like, oh, this is terrible, but we believe this is coming from all of our experts. But the experts are the eugenicists at Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and other major institutions that have been admittedly artificially jacking up food prices worldwide, financing the Arab Spring, financing other revolutions to consolidate control. everywhere, whether it's Venezuela or Brazil, or whether it is areas of Spain or Greece or Italy. Central banks, private banks, are installing presidents and prime ministers. They're threatening an EU military to take over 8 nations that are trying to leave the euro, who never even voted to enter it. We are seeing an iron curtain of tyranny descend, and it's the globalists that have been orchestrating a financial world meltdown that is triggered by a food meltdown. There are major studies you can look into that when 50% of someone's paycheck or a family's earnings each month goes towards food, civil unrest, riots, and destabilization are triggered. If you look back at major university studies that have analyzed from the public records what happened during the 10-year depression from 1929 until about 1939 or 1940, 7 million Americans starved to death or died from complications resulting from malnutrition. To be clear, upwards of 90% of the American population in the Great Depression lived in rural areas, and more than half of them were self-sufficient. Today, only 10% live in rural. We're 90% urban, and only half of the rural population is estimated to be self-sufficient. That is 5% of the population. Think about it, 7 million dead with more than half self-sufficient. What's going to happen when only 5% are self-sufficient? And in this report put out by the World Bank and the State Department, they talk about societal collapse due to this problem, from crop failure to system failure. But they're the ones managing the crisis that they've helped create. They're the ones that think they're going to ride this tiger to burn down society and have a global fund set up like the Marshall Plan after this meltdown and after the depopulation to basically control planetary development. All of their world government projects have been failing over and over and over again. They can't democratically get it done. England just left the euro or began the process because they never voted to enter it. It's unelected. The globalists that run it are tax exempt. The EU Parliament is ceremonial. And the people of England across the political spectrum have learned about this. They've learned that the globalists have fed on third world populations, enslaved them, absolutely poisoned them, weaponized crops against them, engaged in genetic engineering, engaged in secret testing, and much of it's been declassified. And now these giant hordes of poor, desperate people are being directed into the West, not to be empowered, but to bring the West down. This is the sabotage of the carbon taxes. This is the sabotage of the globalist program. This is the essence of what the New World Order is trying to do to society, to make you so poor and pathetic they can dictate the terms of your total surrender. Remember Obama a few years ago when he traveled to Africa? And he told aspiring Africans who were looking up to him as success, he said, you can't have air conditioning or a car.
If everybody's raising living standards to the point where everybody's got a car and everybody's got air conditioning and everybody's got a big house, well, the planet will boil over.
You should have said, we're going to develop cleaner cars and air conditioning, and out of these new innovations, we'll have the next generation of success. But that's what they teach Americans, it's what they teach Nigerians, it's what they teach Japanese. They're teaching everyone that you should just lay down and die, you should hate yourself, you should just turn your whole will over to them because you're an evil, dirty human that's poisoning the earth. And they know that once you industrialize a country, people have less than 2 children and population declines. But if you go back to the British Commission in 1949, they say if we industrialize the third world, we'll empower them and they won't have too many kids, but we won't control them because they'll have their own industrial base. We move to let them overpopulate, then use them as a political weapon, exploit them, and then use them to conquer the West once their populations balloon. This is a cold-blooded plan by the most wicked people the world could ever imagine. This is the ultimate divide and conquer, great game, play one side off against each other system, and it's absolutely a threat to humanity.
Food riots now have killed yet another Venezuelan. According to Reuters, they're reporting that a man was shot dead on Tuesday during looting and food riots that were proliferating round the crisis hit Venezuela. That's according to an opposition legislator who issued that report, bringing it to at least a number of four in the number of fatalities for this month's wave of unrest.
These were the chaotic scenes as residents of a city in southeastern Venezuela went on the rampage in search of basic food items. People desperate for staples like milk, rice and flour stormed a supermarket warehouse in Guayana City. A 21-year-old man was shot dead during the unrest.
As the government has reportedly neglected to pay the EBT benefits for 8 days. Michael Snyder of the Economic Blog reports, widespread reports continue to pour in from all over the nation of glitches with the food stamp system. It is 8 days into the month, and large numbers of people still have not received their benefits. And in other instances, it is being reported that EBT cards are simply not working correctly. Michael Snyder continues, on downdetector.com, there are scores of reports of problems with the EBT system from people all over the nation. Could this simply be another example of government incompetence, or is something else at work here?
Now, the big question is, what are we going to do about it? The advice I give you is the same advice that I carry out in my own personal life. Number one, everybody needs to be able to protect themselves. Everybody needs friends and family they can rely on in crises. And everyone needs high-quality storable foods and high-quality water filtration systems. Not just for collapse when it comes to water filters. All the garbage in our water, you'd be insane to drink well water or tap water with the glyphosates and all the rest of it. But we're offering the biggest wide-spectrum sale ever on preparedness items, 20%. That's the lowest savings, to 40% at InfoWarsStore.com. On InfoWars Select, high-quality storable foods, the highest quality, the lowest prices, powered by My Patriot Supply. We also sell their food as well. They're full spectrum. And all of their water filtration systems across the board, from gravity-fed systems like Alexa Pure and ProPure, to shower filters, to survival straws, you name it. It's all 20 to 40% off right through July 4th at InfoWarsStore.com. And the profit that we make as well helps us in these times to continue our operation and expand it in the face of the globalists, because people are listening to what we're saying more than ever, because we've been proven right, because we've been reading their own documents, their own memorandums. The globalists are eugenicist technocrats. They're orchestrating a world meltdown to reduce population and bring in crisis and bring in control, while they pose as the saviors and establish a world government on the ashes of our society. Everything they're doing is about making us dependent. That's why it's key to have a emergency plan for disasters. That's why it's key to have storable foods. That's why it's key to have water filtration and non-GMO seeds. We have it all. Shortwave radios, crank radios, solar panel systems, the very best preparedness items out there at the lowest prices. I was just at a meeting today with Weldon and others saying, I want you to continue to research the best products, and I want you to continue to buy in bulk and give people the lowest prices. And we sat there and compared our products even to Amazon. And in most cases, we beat them. That is unprecedented. So that's my commitment to you in a win-win. I'm selling products I personally use and that I know we need, that make us independent, that I think you really need, and it also funds the tip of the spear in the fight against the globalists. So take advantage of this July 4th holiday special that runs right through next Monday of 20 to 40% off all preparedness items. But the water filters and the food is paramount. And look, you don't just need food for yourself. You need extra food to take care of friends and family and others that don't listen or didn't listen. And here's the good news. You can eat this insurance. This isn't like car insurance or fire insurance on your house that, thank God you never have a wreck or your house never burns down, so you don't need it. This is insurance that lasts 25 years, that's super high quality. I've got storable foods I bought 10 years ago that last 20-something years. I just gave it to a homeless group. I've given storable foods to friends and family that are down and out. They're high quality. They're delicious. This is insurance that you 100% will be able to eat. And what's crazy about this is, finding a silver lining in that cloud, is that if they're looking at scenarios of 395% increases in food prices on average worldwide, I was saying 20-30% might go up next year. If they're looking at something like that, Well, imagine buying storable food at the prices it is today. That blocks out the inflation we're starting to see in food that's rearing its head. And so you're able to save money if inflation kicks in down the road because you bought your high-quality, delicious, storable foods at InfoWarsStore.com. I'm giving you the advice that I've taken. I've never bought this much storable food. I've never gone out and got this much water filtration systems or put in extra solar panels or generators here at the office. But I don't want to be dependent on the system because everything they're doing points towards an engineered collapse. Hopefully enough people get prepared and are ready so that we, the people that are the patriots, are informed, not just here in the U.S., but worldwide, can stand up and tell everybody, see, we told you so, and hopefully help folks around us and organize some type of political, economic resistance to this Agenda 21, Agenda 2030 globalist program. But regardless, as a father of 3 children, I'm doing everything I can to really get ready to protect my family into the future that's coming, because as I said earlier, this has gone from a possibility of collapse to a probability to more and more an inevitability. There's always hope, but as the Bedouins say, trust in God but tie up your camel. I know I personally am getting prepared. The warning signs are insane. I'm hoping for the best, but I'm preparing for the worst. Take advantage, 20 to 40% off until early next week with the 4th of July holiday special at InfoWarsStore.com.
That's right. Check out InfoWarsStore.com. 20% off X2, 20 to 40% off storable food, 20% off air and water filters. We'll be right back with more news. This is The Alex Jones Show. You know, we had a lot of special reports to play and intros and videos to play on this 4th hour. We didn't get a chance to cover much news, but we did talk about it. And the big news, of course, is that Apple rather, is developing a patent, or has a patent, that could prevent filming of so-called illegal situations like concerts and what they deem to be classified areas, which is the beginning of something that is very, very disturbing. Because, you know, you can take your iPhone out, I do all the time, and take a quick video of something. How many YouTube videos have you seen that's just an iPhone video, usually in the wrong aspect ratio, right? But that's something amazing. It's something very, very valuable for history or just whatever, finding out what happened. And this sets a precedent that deemed illegal, your phone just won't take video or photos. So we've hit on that a few times, but you can't hit on it enough because of how important it really is. Now, there's so much debate for no reason about marijuana and whether it's, oh, could we have some health implications from it, or is it an evil, evil thing or whatever? But I'm going to settle that debate by saying all of the evidence that we're talking about, that I'm talking about in articles like this, have nothing to do with getting high. So this is an article. Cannabis compounds could treat Alzheimer's by removing plaque-forming proteins from brain cells, research suggests. Now here's the key. This is cannabis compounds can fight toxic proteins which cause Alzheimer's disease, research has suggested. Now, cannabis compounds, what does that mean? Well, if you break down what is actually in marijuana, you find that something known as the cannabinoids, or cannabinoids, are really the crux of it. The THC, which is what makes you high, has a lot of beneficial properties too. But the actual cannabinoids, or cannabinoids, however you choose to pronounce it, is a lot of the health benefit, and those don't make you high. You could put that in a protein shake, and it's not going to make you high. It doesn't do anything. You could take that as a supplement. It doesn't make you high. And the quote from the researcher is, although other studies have offered evidence that cannabinoids might be neuroprotective against the symptoms of Alzheimer's, we believe our study is the first to demonstrate that cannabinoids affect both inflammation and amyloid beta accumulation in nerve cells. So it's not the high factor that is doing this. You could take these beneficial compounds from the marijuana itself, from the cannabis, right, and put it into something just like regular hemp. Hemp does not make you high if you're taking the non-THC form of hemp. So if you're making a protein shake with hemp, you're getting a lot of the benefits. Still can't make it in the United States. So there's no debate. There's no debate. Why should you not be able to get hemp that does not contain THC, doesn't make you high, doesn't make you paranoid or whatever they're going to say, right? It's not even making you high, and it's just loaded with health benefits. So in my view, the debate is completely over. What a joke on that. And you don't have to even smoke marijuana to get the benefits from that, right? So I'm not even advocating that. But back to this. So, we see the majority of Americans oppose political correctness. I wanted to break down earlier what I was saying when I said this, that if they asked the question differently, it would be a huge difference as well. So Paul Watson wrote this article. He's always on top of stuff, just such a genius guy. A majority of Americans oppose the politically correct environment that many claim has chilled free speech, according to a new poll. Now, they asked people, which is closer to your point of view? There's too much political correctness today, or there's too much prejudice? I mean, there's still a lot of prejudice. It's kind of a loaded question. I still think political correctness is bad, but there is prejudice, right? So I can see why some people would say there's more prejudice, but guess what? 51% still said political correctness is even more prevalent than prejudice. People are tired of it. Told you for a long time, people are going to backlash against this big time. It's over. This establishment system of political correctness is failing. It's losing. The facade is falling down. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining the 4th hour of the Alex Jones Show. I'm Anthony Gucciardi. Alex will be back tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central. Have a great Independence Day weekend also.